Much like the days of Rocky and Apollo, Rocky lost that first fight. I don't know if a lot of people knew that. But today, I stand before you humbled as I, Mike Ginn, am no longer your lead dog. As Brandon the Mechanic Cuttino has taken over by literally 0.3 of a percentage point as your new lead dog. Welcome to Art of MMA. Oh, I'm going to get my lead dog status back. Don't you worry. Like Rocky, I'm going to get back up in Rocky 2, and I'm going to knock Apollo out. But we're going to get to that later. Today, we're going to be talking about Michael Chandler, his comments. We always have this talk, Brandon, about, UFC, Bellator, other, great fighters outside of the UFC and the pay structure and all these other things. Well, Michael Chandler evidently has been holding back his promo skills all these years because the better fighters are in the UFC. That's his words, not mine. We'll talk about that, discuss it. We'll ask the world, do you even know who Tony Kelley is after his disparaging comments this last weekend in the KGB Lee fight? We'll also get over to the Rant. The Rant is back this week. My target this week, interim titles. When is enough enough? Every 5 seconds we have a glorified number one contender fight called an interim title so they can make more money, promote it on pay-per-views, and do what they do. So we'll talk about that before making our picks for Holm versus Vieira, UFC Vegas 55 this weekend. But Brandon, how does it feel? How does it feel to be the new lead dog? It took you all the way until May to get your status back.
Hey, man, we had some ups, we had some downs, but now we're definitely way up. Back where I belong.
Way up by 0.3.
Hey, man, it's just the beginning.
All right. How you feeling, though? You good?
Yeah, man, feel good, man. You're ready? I'm ready to talk some MMA with you on this awesome Wednesday.
Awesome. Of course, head over to fightersfirst.shop. Get all the latest and greatest apparel. Let our story, I can't even talk. Let our apparel be part of your story. Brandon has me so discombobulated, I cannot even speak this week. But still, go over to fightersfirst.shop. Check out the merch. Get the Mechanic Collection. He's back in action June 18th, so make sure you order now. Get your stuff in plenty of time so you can be in Delaware supporting your boy and letting that sea of white this time, not sea of purple, sea of white take over the arena with all those fresh new Mechanic shirts. You can see both Brandon and I rocking the old and the new today with the Art of MMA. So go ahead and support the brand, support the fighters first. Brandon, that is the business side of things, but we had some great fights last weekend to talk about before we get into the show today. Controversy in Bellator over the new interim champion, Logan Storley. Even Scott Coker doesn't really agree with that decision based on things, but I'm going to throw a curveball and say that it was a good decision because I don't agree that laying on an opponent should get you points. But at the same time, that's the rules. If you can't get Brandon, I'm going to start off with this. What happened to this referee stand-up? I have not seen a referee stand-up fighters not doing anything in forever. What happened to it?
I mean, I think usually fighter refs don't want to intervene in fights. They don't really want to be a part of the fight. Like I said, they're just there to make sure that nobody gets seriously hurt. That's it. But to me, though, it's their job. To me, like I say, is to protect the fighters. Like it's up to MVP to get up. It's not up to ref to stand them up. And then also too, like going on, I thought it was a good decision. I actually had Storley winning 4 rounds to 1. I think the only round I gave the MVP was the 4th round. Everything else to me was Logan Storley. And I don't know why everybody's getting all upset about it. It's like, yo, to me, like I tell you people, man, hey, if you like striking, come watch some kickboxing, come watch striking. Remember, this is MMA that you guys all love so much. MMA is so great. This is what you get when you look at MMA. You get all the aspects. You get your stand-up, you get your ground game. Ground game is a part of it.
I actually said when this fight happened, I was like, yeah, Logan Storley didn't do anything on top of him, but it's up to MVP not to get taken down. Let's be real. Don't get taken down. You don't want him to lay on top of you for 5 minutes every round. If you can't get back up, that's your own fault. You hope the ref would stand him up and start the action again, but you can't depend on that. You have to be able to defend a takedown. You have to be able to get back up, and MVP couldn't do that. Did MVP win the battle striking? 100%. It wasn't even close. I think I had him winning 2 rounds. I think I had 2-4 or 1-4 or something like that. I don't remember right now. But Logan Storley controlled the rounds. He did the takedowns. He laid on top of him. Didn't really do anything, but that's the game you play. If you can't stop from being taken down.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, the thing is, like, to me, if you look at the scoring criteria, which I don't know where people were getting damage from. Damage is not a part of it. The scoring criteria is effective striking / grappling, which means that it's even striking and grappling. Logan Storley had the effective grappling because he was controlling MVP.
Anytime I was going to say also time and control, yeah.
Yeah, anytime MVP tried to move, Logan Storley was either taking his back, controlling, moving. Remember, he was using his grappling to control MVP. He had the more effective grappling. The effective grappling was being the effective striking. You know, that's the number one criteria. People talking about damage over here. Sorry, Ariel Helwani. That's not a part of the criteria.
I mean, it's not just Ariel, it's Scott Coker too.
Yeah. But
obviously MVP is more of his cash cow.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's striking / grappling. The grappling was better than the striking. Like I said, the only round I gave MVP was the 4th round. That's where he definitely took over. He took that round to me. Everything else to me was all Logan Storley.
Yeah, and look, I put that on the ref too. Like the ref should have stood him up. Same thing, you know. They talked about it in the announcers during the Rose and Carla fight, right? How the ref should be like engaging them to say, "Come on, let's get some action going." But the truth is, it's up to the fighters to engage. It's up to the fighters to prevent the takedown, to not get laid on. Like, you know, you talked about Izzy against Jan and how Jan kind of laid on him and controlled him so much that he got 2 10-8 rounds out of it. Like, you just have to be able to get up. You have to also prevent the takedown. That's part of MMA. Wrestling is a part of it. And if you can't prevent that takedown, then go to kickboxing. Like, go to kickboxing because that's where you can strike all day and have a great time. But if you're going to be an MMA, you got to prevent the takedown. Wrestling and jiu-jitsu are very strong parts of the core of mixed martial arts. And while I agree MVP was the more exciting fighter on Friday night, Friday afternoon, I definitely think Logan Storley won that fight because just the way that it goes. Also, Brandon, that might be the last time either one of us pick a home fighter because you picked Czech, he lost. I picked Justin, he lost. And now I picked MVP and he lost. And nobody seems to be able to win at home anymore. So I'm not picking home fighters unless I have to. Like, unless it's like so dominating, I'm like, all right, I got to go with the home guy. Otherwise, I'm not doing it no more. What about else on that card kind of stood out for you? Fabian Edwards knocking Machida out.
Yeah, the Fabian Edwards over there, man, with the knockout, man, the elbow. Good kudos on him. And then, of course, Paul Daly, man, you know, retirement fight, went out with a bang, man. That's how you want to end it. And that's
gonna skip right over. You gonna skip right over Watanabe and your girl Denise Kiel?
Nah. I was gonna get to it, but I know Simtex with the retirement fight. To me, bigger news. And of course, Watanabe doing her thing, man. She got caught. I thought she was about to get finished, but hey, man, she got her bearings back. She was able to get key holds in a triangle choke. So kudos to her, man. I mean, both ladies put on a show, but. Yeah, man, Bellator has some good fights. Talk about my guy Luke Trainer, the gentleman over there, didn't get the job done. His opponent came out swinging, and he rocked him a couple of times, and he got the job done. But all in all, man, Bellator delivered. Was a good card, good fights. This could have been the last time we saw Paul Daly, and also could have been the last time we saw Lyoto Machida as well. Because, like I said, man, that was a knockout.
I don't know if Lyoto's going to quit. Like, kind of like Anderson Silva. Like, he might be done with MMA. Doesn't mean he can't go do some karate tournaments, some celebrity boxing.
Karate combat?
Something. Like, he can do a lot of other combat sports stuff nowadays. Go over to Triller, do some of that triad stuff like Frank Mir and them, Vitor. There's things he could do, but he was never known as, like, a terrific, like, hands guy. Like, he had decent hands. He's got a couple knockouts, but it's because everybody was scared of his feet. So I don't know, but I don't think he's done with MMA either. He didn't sound like he was done when you heard his comments later. So I was just like, But also Paul Daly, I said this last week. How many times has he said it's going to be his last fight? And then somebody else says, hey, you want to make some more money? It's like the Rolling Stones. I won't believe Paul Daly's done until I don't see him in the cage for a couple years.
I mean, he said that he would come out of retirement if it was Nick Diaz or Jorge Masvidal. Those are the only two guys he he would come out of retirement for.
I know another name he'd come out of retirement for. Josh Koscheck. There's still some unsettled. Nothing else will ever remind me of Paul Daly's career except for Josh Koscheck. And there's the one time I was actually rooting for Paul Daly because I hated Josh Koscheck so much. And then Josh Koscheck used every dirty thing in the book in that fight with him, from eye pokes to grabbing the gloves to like everything he could do in that fight, he was doing dirty. And I know unprofessionally that he shouldn't have hit him after the fight, but I think every fan was like, yes. Because, I mean, Josh, kind of, karma. But it was unprofessional. Don't do that. Don't walk out like Sasha and Naomi. I still think that's a work, by the way. Also on that card, by the way, your boy Daniel Weichel.
Yeah.
Big win. My guy Oliver Enkamp and Mark Lemminger put on a hell of a fight. Enkamp got that buggy choke. Yeah. You don't see that every day. And then there's just so many up-and-coming fighters getting their chances to shine. Yeah, and then, like you said, that Watanabe Kiho's fight looked like she was done, and then she just came out with that triangle. That was it. So good fights, good card. Over in the UFC, we had interesting way to end the night, right? And this is another thing that kind of bothers me when it comes to fighters that win by injury. You have the ability to be classy in the cage. Like Jan, like when Rakic blew out his knee, Jan was completely classy. He was talking to him. He was supporting him. Like, I can't wait to run it back with you. I can't wait for you to get healthy. It was unfortunate. And then he comes out and make comments. It's like, yeah, I won because my body's tougher than his body. And then that's like, is that necessary? I don't know if that's a Polish thing or like a European thing, but it just seemed kind of classless to come out and say that afterwards when in the cage, when you were face to face with him. And even Rakic, who could have sat there on the stool after blowing out his knee, still lift up to do the hand raising thing and congratulate him. I thought that was a little classless coming out of the comments. It was a good fight up until then. What did you think about that whole situation?
Yeah, man. Like I said, I had picked Rakic to win this fight. I thought he was doing good. Going into the third round, like it could have been really 1-1. But Rakic, he had the takedown, so he kind of had the momentum going for him. But then boom, he blew out his knee.
Evidently, 3 weeks ago, he before the fight, he had hurt it too. So
yeah, so I mean, hey man, we just gotta wait. We just gotta wait and see what happens with Rakic and his injury. But yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to kind of say with the fight because, like I said, you only saw around 2 rounds, and then that third round, that's when kind of went down. So you kind of just you really didn't find anything to me about Jan, because to me, like I said, I really thought he was going to lose that fight. I kind of thought it was going to go that way anyway, but then boom, the injury happened, so you really don't know how the fight was going to play out.
I thought Jan did a good job with the wrestling, top control, especially in the second round, the leg kicks. But at the same time, whenever they were at distance, you saw Rakic getting the advantage and kind of peppering Jan a little bit. It was going back and forth. All the damage he did was to the other leg, not the one that blew out. But some people have pointed out because there was pressure on that leg, he put extra pressure on his good leg, which then made that pop. But there's so many amateur doctors out there trying to say exactly what happened. Truth is, Rakic hurt his leg 3 weeks ago, wasn't 100%. And it popped in a major fight. It was non-contact. He was stepping back, and it just went. You could see the ripple go right up his leg. Like if you watch the replay, it was nasty. So I hope Rakic has a full recovery. I hope that looks like definitely that kind of thing is probably going to keep him out over a year. How doctors and medical scientists sit nowadays, so maybe 9 months, 8-9 months. But that looked like a full rip and full pop. So I'm no doctor. I'm not going to pretend to be one, but that looks like a long recovery for Rakic. Hopefully he comes back, gets back to his contender status, and resumes his career. He's still real young. So hopefully the Rocket can get back. Jan, I don't know if it's premature to be calling for the winner of Glover and Yuri, but I don't really see any other contenders above him either. So I guess it is what it is. What do you think?
Saying, he wants that title fight. Glover said if he wins, he wants to run it back with with Blachowicz as well. But then of course you got to remember July 30th, you got the Anthony Smith fight. So I mean the winner of that fight could be the next contender.
And there's another guy in the co-main event just took care of business. Ryan Spahn, he locked on that guillotine. We both picked Ryan to win that fight. I don't know if either of us were 100% overly confident in that pick, but he took care of business, right?
Yeah, I mean, dude, Cutelaba did what Cutelaba does, man. He was overzealous. Like I said, if he had Mount, rushed in, boom, he got his neck snatched. That's what happened, which is why I kind of went with Spann to get that submission, because that's what I said. I said that Spann does have victories with submissions. That's kind of how I thought the fight maybe would go, and that's what happened. So. Man, Cutelaba, man, that guy just needs to just be controlled. If he's controlled, if he's relaxed, he does great. He probably have more wins, but man, he sometimes he just gets overzealous and he costs himself.
Yeah, and then you got Davey Grant knocking out Smolka, which I don't know what to make of Smolka sometimes. Sometimes I think like the dude's on the tail end of his career, but he's not even that old. But he's fought so long and so much, and then. You see a nasty knockout like this, and you're like, wonder what's left for him, because every time he gets to kind of build up towards some kind of contender spot, he loses. So it's kind of like, And then I'm still torn about the Chookagian Ribas fight. I guess Chookagian won, but I don't think it was overly one way or the other. Ribas is another one. She evidently tore her bicep like a month before the fight, and she just kept going because she didn't want to pull out of the fight. I know it was her dad who said that she had torn her bicep, but I mean, if you look at her arm had kind of looked fine, because usually like when you tore your bicep, your arm kind of looks a little like, I guess I want to say like off, but there was really like her arm kind of looked fine. But I mean, I have a slightly torn one right now. My arm doesn't look off, but you can see the bruising. Yeah. Like I had an incident happen probably about, I guess, almost a month ago now, and it's still like slightly in the backside of my. And if like I pull, like, there's still like some bruising, like I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but like back in here, and you normally have a little bit of bruising around the injury where it happens. I don't know if she did or didn't. She still fought her ass off. It was still a pretty good competitive fight. She still did the wrestling and takedowns, which I guess she couldn't practice a couple weeks going into the fight. But I don't know. Do you think it was a good decision? I know you picked Chookagian to win.
Yeah, I did think that she won that fight. So,
also, Torres with the knockout of Camacho. Frank the Crank didn't get a chance to crank because he got knocked out. Jake Hadley took his first loss. What you think of that?
Hey man, that's how. I don't know, man. I really wasn't too big high on Jake Hadley, man. Like I thought he was all right. I thought he was decent guy, but I mean, I wasn't really shocked. I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, Rojo got the win over Lee. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Definitely some more controversial between the rounds than actually what happened in the fight. Michael Johnson turning back the clock with that huge knockout. Angela Hill took the L. Good thing neither one of us picked her fight this time. Then Taira with that debut, right? Like he looked pretty good. He controlled all three rounds. Candelaria, I think he went 30-26 on at least one of the scorecards. So pretty dominant debut for the Japanese sensation. And then I took the L with the Maximoff. I thought the kid would find a way to win, but he got put to sleep. Literally put to sleep.
Yep. And a kind of joke.
Yeah. Petrosky caught him. And that was it. Point where even Petrosky felt bad for him after the fight. So we'll see how the kid bounces back with his first L. But that leads us into talking about today's show. Brandon, you ready to get started, buddy?
Yes, sir. Can't wait for this first topic.
All right. So Michael Chandler came out the other day. Of course, remember last week he had this epic rant after his fight and his win over Tony Ferguson with a crazy knockout, right? Like crazy knockout, that front kick. Something that'll be highlight films forever. And he came out with one of these epic post-fight promos that he's been doing lately, especially after his wins, where he's calling out everybody, kind of WWE style, just going ham, right? He's going nuts. Called out Conor, he called out Gaethje and Oliveira, he called everybody. Nate Diaz at 170, everybody. And people asked him about it after the fight. I don't know if it was Ariel or somebody, but it was like, because I saw the quotes later, and it was like, why didn't you do these kind of promos in Bellator? And he's like, I saved them for the UFC because the UFC fighters are better. And that was pretty much his exact quote. Brandon, we've talked numerous times since this show began 76 episodes ago. And the one common thought all the way back from when Sergio would say it till now is that there's fighting outside of the UFC. There's great fighters in Bellator, PFL, around the globe, won championships, number of fighters that are really great. What do you think of Chandler's comments? Obviously, I'm pretty sure you'll disagree with him, but what do you think about, like, are the better fighters in the UFC?
Basically, I call BS, man. It's BS. Really what he was saying was he was trying to say how he couldn't call himself the best fighter, in the world, because he knew that the best fighters weren't in Bellator and everything like that. But dude, that's BS, man. Because everybody, if you truly believe that you're the best guy, you're gonna say you're the best guy. Like that's not stopping Patricio Pitbull. That's not stopping AJ McKee, for saying they're the best. If you go to boxing, Bud Crawford thinks he's the best boxer out there, especially at his weight class. But he's at top. Well, at the time he was at top rank. But we all know that the majority of the best fighters in the weight class are in the PBC. So that's an Errol Spence. That was a Sean Porter. But they all will call themselves the best. If you think you're the best, you're the best. You look at a Canelo Alvarez, same thing with boxing, right? You look at.
I don't know if that's the best example right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man. You look at wrestling. Usually everybody wants to say, hey, the best people in the WWE, but you still got people in AEW say, hey, they're the best wrestler. Got people in the NWA,
no, stop.
In New Japan, like that's the thing is like, dude, if you're the best, you're the best. It's not. Oh, I can't say.
I don't mean to cut you off, but how much does the NWA pay you to promote them?
Bro, I don't know why you a hater, man, of the NWA, man. Dude, that's the National Wrestling Alliance, man. Show them the respect they deserve. I
did, and then WCW took them over, and since then they haven't been the same NWA.
Man, stop. Billy Corgan, baby, smashing pumpkins out here.
He needs to go back to William Corgan, first of all. He needs to go back to rock and roll. Go ahead, finish your rant. Go ahead.
Nah, man, not like that. That's just it, man. Just like, dude, like he lying, bro. Like it's just BS, man. Dude, if you're the best, you're the best. Don't try.
I don't know if he's lying or if he's just living in the moment. Because clearly he lost fights in Bellator. He lost a few fights in Bellator. He lost to Eddie Alvarez, who did go on to be a UFC champion. Mm-hmm. He lost to Benson Henderson, was a UFC champion as well. So the people he lost to were some of the best in the world at one point in time. And they were in Bellator. So, you got the Corey Andersons of the world, the Nemkovs in the world. You got the Pitbull brothers. You got AJ McKee. You have a number of others. I think if you're looking at a roster from top to bottom, I think obviously the UFC is deeper. They got bigger pockets. They got, 100 fighters in every division, right? But if you're looking at just the top 10s, I think Bellator goes toe-to-toe with them in almost every division except for maybe heavyweight. I think there's better heavyweight fighters in UFC. Maybe even light heavyweight. It's comparable because once you get past the first few in Bellator, there's not much. And UFC goes a little deeper in that one. But when you start talking about welterweights, I give the edge to UFC. You start talking about lightweights, I give the edge to the UFC, even though there are some really good lightweights in Bellator. But I think he's just living in the moment. He's currently a UFC fighter. That was always his dream. He's finally living out his dream. And I think that's kind of what he should have said, right? I think he should have been like, look, this is where I always dreamt to be. It's like little kids that dream of being, you use wrestling as an example. Little kids that always dreamed about being WWE. That doesn't mean people like Bryan Danielson and CM Punk and everybody, Chris Jericho, aren't in AEW. And there aren't great shows in AEW. It just meant that I'm living my dream as a WWE wrestler. In this case, UFC is the place 20 years ago people dreamt of being. Nobody dreamt of being in Bellator 20 years ago, right? It just wasn't really a thing. They were doing, the Bjorn Rebney tournaments and stuff like that, and it was cool, but it wasn't the UFC. It wasn't the global platform that is now. And I get when people say that, but when you're talking on pound for pound, record for record, talent for talent, I think nowadays I don't know if Bellator is there with the UFC, but they're as close as they've ever been. And I think especially the top 4 or 5 fighters in every division could go toe-to-toe with any of the top 4 or 5 fighters in any division in UFC as well. I do think UFC has more depth, but I'll leave it at that. And that's only because of the deep pockets of Endeavor and WMA. I mean, then again, Bellator's got Viacom money, so they've been dropping money left and right on fighters, but they've been spending a lot on the top-tier fighters. So, man, I find it hard to think. Like, for instance, I don't think Logan Storley would beat any of the top 5 UFC welterweight fighters. Do you?
Whoa, you don't. Tell me the top 5 right now in UFC. At welterweight. Yeah. Okay.
He's not beating Usman, especially.
I know. I'm saying, dude. Just tell me the top 5. I just want to know the top 5.
I'm not sure where Burns is right now, but I will put Burns over him. Colby Covington. Hamzat's down the top 5, and the 5th one. I don't know who's number 5 right now because I know Masvidal dropped down a little bit.
I'm gonna look at it right now.
But just even look at the top 4. Does he beat any of those 4?
Man, no. We said top 5. All right, so we got Usman's the champ. 1 is Colby Covington. 2 is Leon Edwards. Chimaev is 3. Burns is 4. Bilal Muhammad is 5.
All right, so the top 5 end at number 4 because you're champion.
So I'm trying to say. So
I forgot Leon Edwards.
So I'm saying. So you don't think Logan Storley could beat Bilal Muhammad?
That'd be a competitive fight. Right there, you're looking at the 6th best. You're looking at the 6th best welterweight at that point.
Hey, I'm saying you just brought up Logan Storley, so we're just going with Logan Storley right now.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I said top 5.
Yep.
Right there. Once you get to, because you're not counting the champion as one of the rankings.
Okay.
But once you get to number 5, you're talking about the 6th best welterweight to have a good fight.
Okay.
Because do you think
you don't? Well, him and Gilbert Burns are teammates because they're both at Sanford. So
but Gilbert Burns is another grappler. He's not going to go toe to toe with a jiu-jitsu guy on the ground. He lays on Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is going to tap him out. Hamzat's got good wrestling. Covington's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Usman's one of the best. Only one I could see a possible upset would be if he fought Leon Edwards and Leon Edwards fought like MVP fights with a length and distance instead of using like overall skills. And I think Leon Edwards is an overall better MMA fighter than MVP.
You don't think he could beat Colby Covington?
No. Not even close. Covington can wrestle.
So what's that?
He's not going to beat another wrestler.
Wait. Why not? Wait. Why can't he beat another wrestler? Because
his only strength is being able to wrestle somebody and get on top of them. If he can't wrestle you and take you down, then how is he going to win?
But why? But what tells you that he can't out wrestle Colby Covington? That's all I'm asking. So wait. If somebody's another wrestler, you trying to tell me that Logan Storley can't beat him? Why? Because they're another wrestler?
His only loss is to Amosov. What does Amosov do?
Dude, Amosov is good.
He's great. He's a really talented guy.
But I'm just trying to say, but you're basically trying to say, like, oh, he can't be Covington. He's another wrestler. Like,
he cannot be Covington. Covington can strike. Covington has a full round. I hate Colby Covington, but he has a full rounded out MMA skill set. He takes you down. He's trying to submit you. He's trying to beat you and punch you.
No, he's not. He's not trying to submit anybody. He just keeps it going, dude. That's why Masvidal gave up his back so easy because he knew Covington was never going to go for submission.
But Covington's punching you. Covington's doing stuff. He's moving the whole time. He never stops moving. And this is coming from a guy who hates him, who's on team.
Yo, light it up in the comments, people. Light it up in the comments. Let me know that this guy.
I hope Masvidal gives him more. I hope Masvidal gives Covington more brain damage. But that's a whole nother subject.
I'm just saying. You're going to lose. Like, I could see him and Colby Covington being competitive. Like, say, I'm not saying.
I see
but your to me is just straight dismissing him because Covington's a wrestler, so he can't beat another wrestler.
I don't think he could beat. I don't think he could beat a top level grappler. I don't. And I'll tell you what. And Amosov is the real champ. I think Amosov has a better shot against the top 5 because I think he has a more all round MMA game. But if Logan Storley can't stand and bang with any of the top 5 guys, then he has no chance because all those top 5 guys, except maybe Edwards, have really good takedown defense and really good wrestling. So MVP didn't have any wrestling. There was no threat of a takedown. He could basically run in, take him down, and lay on top of him for 5 minutes.
So tell me this.
Amasov can do all that stuff.
I just have a question for you then. So why can't he do what Chimaev did to Gilbert Burns? Why can't he control Gilbert Burns? Take him down.
Because he doesn't do anything when he's on top of you. Because he just showed for 5 rounds. He doesn't do anything when he's on top of you. He just lays there trying to control you. Guess what? You lay there trying to control somebody like Gilbert Burns, he's going to submit you with jiu-jitsu.
Hey, man.
I'm glad
you funny, Mike. You funny, man. You don't put the whole picture together. You don't put the whole picture together, babe. You don't put the whole picture together. But it's all right, man. It's all right. Okay. This coming
from the kickboxing king, the striker himself.
Yeah, well, it was because I'm into whole MMA. Remember, I train MMA.
I know you train all MMA. You're one of the best teams in the world. I understand that, but what I'm saying is that I disagree with you. I think Bellator has great fighters. Like I'm gonna steer this conversation back to where it's supposed to be. I think Bellator has great fighters, but I think UFC in some divisions has elite fighters. Now, does Bellator have elite fighters on their roster? Yes. Gegard Mousasi, one of the best 185-pound people in the entire world. Nemkov and Corey Anderson go toe-to-toe with any of the light heavyweights in UFC. Ryan Bader has proven himself in the UFC. I don't know if he can go toe-to-toe with the top heavyweights like Ngannou and Cyril Gane and them, but it'd be fun. It'd be a fight. But there are divisions, like, for instance, 155 pounds. Patricky Pitbull, do I put him up there with a Charles Oliveira? I just don't. I will put Dustin Poirier and Gaethje and a lot of those guys over top of him. That's not saying he can't compete, because he could, and he could probably even win. But would I pick them going into the fight? No, I would pick the UFC guys in that case. So I see what Chandler's saying, but I also think, like I said, I think he's in the heat of the moment. I think he's living his dream of being a UFC fighter, and I think he kind of threw a backhanded insult to Bellator, whether he meant to or not. Any final thoughts on this subject before we move on and don't spend an hour talking about it?
Hey, man, like I said, I just think it's just BS, man, dude. If you think you're the best, you're the best. Doesn't matter where you are, and what organization you're with. If you think you're the best, you're the best.
Good, well said. Me and Brandon will continue to probably fight offline about this subject. Moving on. Speaking of the UFC, last weekend, KGB Lee was fighting Viviane Araújo. I always mispronounce her name. Sorry, Vivian. And in the middle of the fight, Tony Kelley thought that Vivian was doing some dirty things. Never really came out exactly what he thought she was doing. But he made the disparaging comments about Brazilians. I won't repeat it because I don't want this show banned or hate comments or think that I somehow support it. But you guys can look up the clip. You know what he said. Basically put what I just said together in a longer sentence and you know what he said. But basically throwing the entire MMA community in Brazil under the bus for, claiming that they fight a certain way. Now, afterwards, Tony Kelley got a lot of hate for it. Rightfully so. I mean, KGB Lee has a history of dating racist and crazy people. Her ex-husband was a Nazi supporter. And now her current boyfriend clearly has some issues with Brazilians. Tony Kelley's been fighting in the UFC for a little bit. He's been around. He has a fight coming up in a couple months, I think. He went online, though. This is what kind of triggered me for this, kind of made me put the subject on here. He went online, Brandon, and said, why are you trying to cancel me? And I think half the comments said what my first thought was. I was like, how can you cancel somebody who they don't even know who you are? Like, he doesn't have the resume to say, oh, my God, I'm a top-level UFC fighter. I think he's like 6-2 or 7-2. He's got a decent record. I've seen Tony Kelley fight a couple times. He's a good fighter. But, A, what do you think of this whole situation? And B, do you even care about Tony Kelley?
Answer your second question first. No, I don't care about Tony Kelley. And the first one too, man. What I think is, dude, garbage. He said something that was trash, and he got what he deserves. Like, that's it, dude. This is the MMA community, bro. There's so much toxicity around in this whole thing, man. Like saying there's good parts about it, there's bad parts. Is one of the bad parts of it. Saying what he said was wrong. It was dumb. It was stupid. But again, this is something that basically follows KG Andrea Lee. You know, like you said, with her ex and now, man, dude, this is what it is. Like, I'm not really shocked. You know, it's just another thing, another story.
I don't know how racist it is as much as it is like nationalist, maybe patriotism. I already know because I don't see him bashing all Hispanic and Latino fighters. It kind of reminds me of comments like Colby Covington's made in the past about Brazilians, comments that Chael Sonnen made back in the past with Wanderlei Silva and stuff like that, and the Brazilians. It honestly just seems like a tired trend that people have used to kind of like, you know, this and this about Brazil. When, you know, Brazil has put up a number of great UFC fighters over the years. My thoughts instantly are like, you can't get canceled if nobody knows who you are. My other thoughts is that, yeah, by association, it makes KGB Lee look bad. She's never really gotten going in MMA. She's had some ups and downs. She was a tremendous kickboxer before that, multi-time amateur champion and stuff like that with kickboxing and Muay Thai. Coming into MMA, she's been up and down, like 500 type record, just up and down. But it kind of like through association makes her look bad. Whether she's somehow racist or derogatory towards other countries, I don't know. Never heard her say a thing. But she makes bad choices. You know, her first husband who beat her, choked her, put cigarette burns out on her. I don't want to say his name to give him publicity, but you can look it up. Was a nasty human being. And this one doesn't seem to be much better. I guess at least he doesn't beat and abuse her, which is great. But he's not on his way to winning any kind of popularity contest right now. Don't know what's down in the water down there in Lafayette. They've put out some great people like Dustin Poirier and Daniel Cormier. But there's a couple of the lesser quality people down there as well, I guess. Any final thoughts?
Nope.
Exactly. Nobody knows who you are, Tony Kelley. You can't get canceled if we don't know who you are or care about who you are. I think this is actually one last thought. I think he's actually trying to use this to actually elevate his name because they're like, you know, they say there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yep.
Because now more people know who he is than they ever did before he made those comments between the rounds. Congrats. I don't know. The final subject of the day before we get into our previews and picks for UFC Vegas 55 is the rant. I know you guys love it at home. I know you all love to see me go off the chains. Brandon digs it. He kind of laughs at me, thinks it's funny. But I think I have a legitimate point this week. Interim titles. As my camera blurs up right as I do it. Interim titles. Look, we can go back to 2003 when Randy Couture won the interim title. He moved down to light heavyweight, fought Chuck Liddell, had the big knockout, and won the interim title. Why? Because Tito Ortiz took his ball and went home. He wanted more money from the UFC. He didn't want to fight for Dana White at the time. He was challenging Dana White to fights. Like there was a lot of stuff going on back then. And he took his ball and basically went home. That made sense to have an interim champion, hopefully later that you could then unify the belts. Over the years, we've seen Conor McGregor get an interim title because Aldo got hurt right before the fight. They put Mendez in and they unified it. We've even seen more recently Israel Adesanya before he started his run. Robert Whittaker had the hernia surgery and some other stuff, and he was out, and him and Gastelum fought for the interim title before they later unified it. We've seen it with legends like GSP and the whole Matt Hughes situation. Dominic Cruz when he was out for a number of years with the multitude of injuries. And it took a few years before they even did the interim title in that division. Yep. Interim titles aren't going anywhere.
Exact.
Yeah. Interim titles aren't going anywhere. We just saw it last weekend with Logan Storley getting the interim title because Amosov's all fighting in war. He's in Ukraine dealing with all that traumatic stuff going on over there. We don't know when he'll be back. There's sometimes it makes sense. There's other times it doesn't. And the thing that bothers me most is that people that win interim titles run around acting like they're the world champion. I'm one of the big Rafion Stotts fans out there. I know Brandon's a big fan of his. Man, he's just fun to watch. He's exciting. He's always bringing the action. But we know Sergio Pettis is the bantamweight champion. He's out with an injury, probably be out close to a year. I don't really have a problem with the interim title in this case because Sergio will be out for a while. I know they only did it so they have the title defended in every round of the tournament the way they did every other Grand Prix they've done lately with the 205 and the featherweight tournament and stuff. And Stotts was supposed to fight Pettis before this whole thing started. That was supposed to be like the first round matchup, and they changed it all when Pettis got hurt. But now Stotts is running around with merch saying, I'm a world champion. But that's kind of disrespectful to the guy who actually earned the world championship and defended it against Horiguchi only a few months ago. It wasn't even that long ago. You're going to sit there and tell me you're the world champion, but you're the interim champion. It's like I sit there and watch Tony Ferguson sitting there ranting online the last few days, and he's like constantly commenting back to everybody. And every one of his signatures at the end of his little comments, you see champ. I'm like, you were interim champion for a second, and you lost. Like, everybody wants to run around like when they win an interim title acting like they're the world champion, but they're really just a glorified number one contender. Just last year, we saw Cyril Gane get the interim title over Derek Lewis when Ngannou just won the belt 4 or 5 months before that in a heavyweight division that barely has a fighter fight once a year. And then all of a sudden they're doing an interim title because they want Derek Lewis to fight in Houston, and Derek would only fight for a title at that point. So they're like, oh, cool, we'll make it an interim title fight. But the truth is, Ngannou would have been ready in September or October if they just pushed the fight back 2 months. But no, they went through it. And then when the interim title and real champion got together, the real champ, even with a torn up knee, took care of business and put the interim champion out or done away. Very rarely do we see the interim champion beat the real champion, except for maybe the case of Adesanya. It's always a glorified number one contenders, and I get that it increases UFC pay-per-view sales and Bellator sales, and increases ticket prices and increases money for fighters, which is good because you can call yourself champion. But Brandon, I don't know when it went from having legitimate reasons for an interim champion. And like you said to me offline, this happens in all sports. This happens in boxing. It happens in other sports. I don't know when it switched from a legitimate reason to every time we need a number one contender, we're going to call it the interim champion. And it seems like every 5 seconds we have a new interim champion. I mean, just in Bellator, we just had 2. And now all of a sudden, what? If Cyborg decides to say, hey, I'm going to wait till the fall or next year to fight, are they going to have an interim featherweight champion too? Like, it's just every 5 seconds, instead of like waiting to see what the champion does, who earned their way to be champion, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's see. You know, they just did it with Peter Yan, right? Peter Yan got his interim title back after the whole Sterling thing because Sterling wasn't quite ready or whatever the situation was. And then they fought, and whether you like the decision or not, Sterling won the fight and kept his belt because he was the champion. There's a lot of backstory to that one, but it's like every 5 seconds they want a number one contender, they throw an interim title on. Brandon, what do you think of this whole thing, man?
So, I mean, like I said, I'm all for it. Hey, you're the champ. You get more money that way. I'm always cool with fighters getting more money. But the thing is, though, with Rafion Stotts, who is your interim champion, he's going to have to defend that belt. At least most interim champions, like the way how you're bringing it is like, oh, you're a glorified number one contender. But with Rafion Stotts, he's going to be defending that belt because his next fight isn't against Sergio Pettis. His next fight is who's next in the tournament. So he's going to be defending his belt, just like going back to Dominic Cruz when Renan Barão became the champ. He defended that interim title over and over and over. You know, so I understand where it's usually like, oh, it's glorified number one contender, but in case of Bellator, their champ is out. That guy's Rafian Stas will be defending his belt. So I mean, if he wins, he's a champ. He's the world champ. He's the one holding it down. He's the one holding down the division. Sergio Pettis is out.
He's still holding down the number one contendership. Like he's not beat the champ.
But the
champ hasn't even been out. The champ has not even been out of action long enough, like to say, hey, this guy's not coming back.
But I'm saying, his next fight was going to be for the title. So
it was going to be, but things happened.
So would you rather him just sit out then?
I would rather they have the Grand Prix, the winner of the Grand Prix. If they wanted to give the interim title to the winner of the Grand Prix, I could kind of be like, all right, I get that. But now they want to do it every round because they want to make it look like the fight means more. But at the end of the day, whoever wins the Grand Prix, whether Stotts loses it to somebody else and somebody else wins the Grand Prix, whoever wins that Grand Prix is going to be the interim champion. But instead, they want to make every single fight that interim title is involved in to be a more important fight. But in this case, they're not paying the fighters more. They're paying the same thing they're paying for every round of the Grand Prix. I've looked this up, and I can't find the exact number, but it's not like they're getting whoever has that title at that round is not getting some kind of like financial boost for being champion. Only thing Stotts can do is run around and sell merchandise saying he's a world champion. But would he have beat Sergio Pettis? I guess we won't know until that fight happens, but Pettis beat Archuleta for that title. Pettis defended against Horiguchi, which was a hell of a fight. That's like disrespecting Pettis, who put in the effort to become champion. He fought his life to become champion. And then all of a sudden, one guy, like he gets hurt, and another guy is like, all right, you're champion now. No big deal. And it's not that Stotts hasn't earned it, because Stotts is a hell of a fighter. He's like 10-0, 11-0, whatever. He's put in the effort and the work. But he hasn't beaten the champ. Now, he beat the former champ, but he hasn't beaten the champ. And I'll go even further. The Logan Storley MVP one was strictly because they wanted that main event was supposed to be for the welterweight title. And Amosov is dealing with this conflict. He thought he could leave for a second and have this fight. Ended up he had to stay. Storley gets the shot. Did he deserve it? Did he not? Storley was a hell of a number one contender or number two contender in the division. It's not unheard of. But did that fight have to be for the interim title? Or could they have not just done a number one contendership and then the winner fights Amosov when he comes back?
You don't know when Amosov's coming back.
You don't know if he's coming back, but
yeah, that's why you have the interim title.
But they threw that together at the last second. Why?
Well, because MVP and Amosov was going to fight. So again, somebody was going to fight for the title. The champ then gets out, so you're going to replace him. So I'm saying, if I'm MVP, I'm getting a title shot. Then you're telling me that the champ is out, but then you still want me to fight on that card? What for? Because now if I lose, I'm losing my title shot. What's the point of Ginn? I might as well then become interim champ.
And they're already talking about Amosov and Storley fighting in September.
See what happens.
Giving Amosov a few more months to deal with everything and get a full training camp. Like, they're already talking about it. So,
hey man, you can talk about it, but again, that doesn't mean it was going to happen. Because remember, this fight was supposed to happen. They were talking about this fight, but it didn't happen.
I just can't get over the fact that they have taken something that was legitimate and just made it a number one contender. And they've done it.
That I can see on the UFC side, because again, that's what's going to happen come July with Brendan Moreno and Kai
Kara France.
That's going to be under the title. When basically the champion has a finger injury, but apparently though everything, if all goes well, he could be back fighting in December. So I'm saying if you want to run it back really with Moreno and Figgy, dude, Moreno can wait because that's what's gonna happen. He just gotta wait till December. So instead of him fighting in July, he's gonna fight in December. So I'm saying,
man, there's so much more to that one too, because obviously Figueiredo thinks Moreno's camp is racist for calling him monkey and everything else.
And like I said,
both of them want to fight Kai Kara France, but I do agree. Why does it have to be an interim title? Why can't that be a number one fight?
Like I said, I get your point with the UFC, but to me, with Bellator, Bellator's both times for interim titles, they're like the reasons to me are valid, while the UFC is just to try to make things bigger, to try to make a big cash grab.
And I mean, we look at the last two versions of the UFC, right? You just talked about Kai Kara France and Moreno in the summer, and that is just the number one contender fight. It's 100% number one contender fight. And on top of that, you look last year, the biggest one that really stood out to me was the Cyril Gane Derek Lewis fight. Yep. Right after Francis Ngannou finally won the world heavyweight title.
Yeah, he won it in March, and they were trying to have him fight in August. He said, "No, I'll fight in September." You got to do an interim title. What for? The guy was ready to fight for it in September.
Well, it was 100% because they wanted Derek Lewis in Houston for that pay-per-view buy.
Mm-hmm.
Leave your thoughts and comments below. I'm sure they will be all over the place on social media, but I'm sick of interim titles. Just call it a number one contender fight. Let the winner wait for whoever champion if they want to wait. Or if they want to put the number one contendership on the line, let them do that too. We've seen Colby Covington wait a number of times for fights. He's another guy that's had an interim title. Like how many people can say they've been champion in the UFC, but they've never actually been the king? That's the question, you know. Colby Covington's another one, like the interim, like, and then claiming he's champion. He's not. Never beat the top dog. Never been the man. Anyway, let's get on. So your boy can get his status back as the lead dog. I'm not taking any prisoners this week unless me and Brandon pick all the same people. But I don't think we will. We've got to have something different so I can get my status back. This weekend, Saturday night, UFC Vegas 55, Holly Holm and Caitlin Vieira fighting at bantamweight, which was kind of surprised. I thought they might do this one at featherweight, but they're doing it at bantamweight. Brandon, it's an exciting card. Who do you got in this main event, and tell me why?
I always got to go with the preacher's daughter, Holly Holm. I think she's going to get the job done. I think she has the advantage striking-wise and experience-wise. Holly Holm getting her hand raised.
You know, Caitlin Vieira has been up and down her last 4 fights, 2-2. She beat Miesha Tate in the last fight where she looked really great against Miesha. Holly Holm, though, has been looking fantastic for a number of fights in a row. Other than the Amanda Nunes fight, she's been dominant. She beat Pennington. She beat Aldana. The Aldana fight, she looked fantastic. Honestly, I got Holly Holm. I don't think it's going to be even close. I think she's going to dominate Caitlin Vieira. And what might be our last time seeing Holly Holm in the octagon before she maybe runs off back to boxing. So I definitely think Holly's going to come in and take care of business. Over the co-main event is actually a little bit more competitive fight. Ponzinibbio versus Michel Pereira. Both guys have all the potential in the world. Ponzinibbio was on top of the world. Took a couple years off, came back a little rusty. Seemed to get his mojo back his last fight. Pereira looked great his last couple fights. Who you got in this one?
I know Ponzinibbio is coming off an L while Pereira's coming off a win, but I'm going to go with Ponzinibbio. I think it's going to be a crazy fight, and it's going to be action packed. But I'm just going to lean towards Ponzinibbio. I think he's the more, I want to say, relaxed, I guess, or should I say he's the more composed fighter. Because I said Pereira can be composed, but then kind of just like we had last week with Kutalabov, man, he can kind of be zealous, you know.
I mean, we know Pereira's going to take chances, and by the way, Ponzinibbio got robbed against Jeff Neal. Like, first of all, that split decision was a bad decision. But he beat Beza. He lost to Ling via the knockout, Jingling Li. That was his comeback fight against Lee. Ponzinibbio is one of those guys that can endure a lot, but at the same time, he is subject to getting caught. And Pereira's going to throw a lot of wild, unorthodox strikes. He'll do some flips. He'll jump around. He's like more of a gymnast inside that cage sometimes. And we also know he gasses in the second, third, late in the fight. If Ponzinibbio can get past the first round, second round, I think he has a chance to win this fight. But I think Pereira's going to probably get the stoppage in the first couple rounds, so I'll take Michel Pereira. It's always about Pereira's gas tank. I don't think it's ever about his opponent because the guy has all the potential in the world. But he is so over-muscled and so explosive inside that cage that it just gasses him by the second, third round. He's a shell of himself. And it happens almost every fight. But I'll take Pereira in this one. I'll take a chance on this one because I think if it goes late, I think Ponzinibbio can win the decision. But I think Pereira has a chance to stop this one early and catch Ponzinibbio with one of those flash knockouts. A lot of other fun stuff on the card. What is your fight to watch this weekend? I'm
going with the fight that's actually right before the co-main event. That's the Achidi and Njokuani fight versus Dusko, and I'm gonna go with Bang Bang. I think Bang Bang's gonna get a Bang Bang finish. I think Dusko's gonna go night, and Chidi Njokuani is gonna keep on his winning ways.
That's a fun fight. Dusko looked great in his last fight, but that's a fun fight. I think Njokuani, I butchered it too. Njokuani definitely is probably the favorite, but it's gonna be a fun fight. The fight I'm actually looking forward to is actually right below that. So we're just going on a roll every damn fight. Polyana Viana versus Tabitha Ricci. Viana's looked very good at times. She's had some hiccups in her UFC career. Ricci only has one loss. This is going to be a very competitive fight. Both ladies come to bring it. It's not going to be much back down. I just think Viana has the edge with the jiu-jitsu and the grappling. I think if this fight goes to the ground at all, I think Viana has the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and take Viana, especially since Ricci likes to wrestle to the ground sometimes. I think that kind of backfires against a really good jiu-jitsu person like Viana. So I'll take Polyana in this one. But I think it's going to be a really, really fun fight. And I think
I can't believe you're going up against Baby Shark over here. Thought you were such a big Baby Shark fan.
First of all, I'm a Marlins fan, not a Nationals fan. Second of all, Baby Shark was like 3 years ago or 2 years ago. But now you got the song stuck in my head. So thanks a lot, jackass.
You're the one that picked the fight.
I didn't go ahead and say the words.
Hey, man, that's her nickname, Baby Shark.
You want me to go ahead and start singing like every catchy tune in the world, like Bohemian Rhapsody or Ice Ice Baby or something else that'll get stuck in your head?
Man, I listen to music all day, so it's all good with me.
Also on the card, your boy Eric Anders against Jung Young Park. It's going to be a fun one. Holmes and Amadovsky is going to be fun. Almeida and Porter, that one's going to be a banger. Morales and Medic. I don't really know what the hell to make of Medic. Last time I picked him, he lost. Now he's trying to come back. It's been a while. You were talking about the Chase Hooper fight off air. It should be a fun fight with Diaz Corrales. Jonathan Martinez and Vince Morales could be a banger. And honestly, I didn't pick that fight just because I don't know I don't have an opinion on who's going to win that one. I just want to sit back with the popcorn and watch that fight. And then opening up, CFFC vet Elise Reed and Sam Hughes. Elise Reed bounced back with a win in her second UFC fight. So let's see what she does in the third. She's back in her normal weight class, so she's looking a lot better. Of course, she went up in weight to fight Sarge in her debut. So Elise Reed, former women's champion in Cage Fury. So always supporting Cage Fury fighting championships. Rob Hydak, Aries Garcia, all those guys in Brandon's backyard and in my backyard now because they're coming down to Tampa once in a while, which is cool. Hopefully I get to one of those shows soon. Brandon, you getting excited? Almost time for fights.
Yeah.
Time for you to get back in that ring, do what you do.
Yeah, man, getting really excited, man. Like I said, we're about 4.5 weeks, so, just getting the mind right, getting the body right.
Ramping up, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you can catch Brandon every week, not just here, or every other week on Kicking It. Him and Tim are doing great things. Tim's also doing a couple other interviews with some one fighters on there that's appearing on the network. Of course, you also got me and Crossing Borders. We mixed up the schedule a little bit on you guys. So Crossing Borders comes out on Mondays now. It will actually come out on Tuesday, funny enough, next week because I have to go to my daughter's school for a ceremony. But Kicking It will be coming out on Tuesdays every other week. They usually record it on a Monday, but I try to put it out on Tuesday. And then Art of MMA on Wednesday. And then anything special we do, like interviews or something like that, will usually come out on a Thursday and Friday. Trying to space out the content. I think it's kind of obvious people kind of realize Cage My IQ is no longer on the network. They are back on their own channel. So support Dan, support all those guys over on Cage My IQ. It's just youtube.com/Cage My IQ. Go check them out. We always support them. It was not a bad divorce. It was very mutual. They're putting out a ton of content and they don't need to be part of a network. They can shine just fine on their own. So great for them. Looking forward to more of their great content every week. Dan doesn't stop working. He's constantly putting out content. So check out Cage My IQ. Brandon, any final words this week?
Hey guys, just leave a comment, like, subscribe, share the word, man. Spread it. Fighters first out here.
Absolutely. Always fighters first. And check out fightersfirst.shop. Let our apparel be part of your story. Whether it's through the mechanic, whether it's other MMA fighters like his teammate Justin Muslia has a new collection on there. Putting out one more shirt for him soon. Just put out a new Chocolate Thunder Dragon Ball Z inspired shirt for him. Shedrick Goodrich will be back in the cage, I want to say in July. Of course, Justin Rolfe, he lost his bid trying to unseat the heavyweight or the top 10 undefeated fighter last weekend, but he put up a hell of a fight. He'll definitely be back in the ring soon. Just bigger and better for fighters first, always fighters first. So check it out, support the brand, support everything. Leave a comment, like and subscribe if you like what we're doing. And until next week, this is Art of MMA. I'm Mike Ginn. That's the current lead dog, Brandon Cuttino. Not for long. I'm coming back. Anyway, this is Art of MMA. We're out.